What is going on, everybody? It is episode 263 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary, and I'm sorry to the chat. We don't have the power to conjure Seamus into this studio today.
Wouldn't
It's going to
be
be yeah, it would be nice. It's going to be a two-person show today, but we have a lot of bad news to cover, and I'm really excited about it.
Mary loves the bad news. Personally, I find the bad news emotionally draining, but it gives her life.
I was elated to find out today's information.
Okay. Elated
Only for our sake, that we
Yes.
get to talk about it with you guys.
Yes.
Not for Henry Cavill. Just to clarify.
I, on the other hand, feel horrible for Henry Cavill. So we will get into that. That is the number one topic here today, guys. Henry Cavill is out as Superman.
Ousted,
and
if you
he's
will.
ousted, if you will. And it sucks. We are also going to talk about the extremely brave, the extremely diverse, the extremely amazing Rings of Power, and their extremely diverse all-female directors team for the second season.
Are you catching the sarcasm yet, chat?
Perhaps so. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to love every episode. I'm going to give each one a 10. I just know it. We're going to get there. We are also going to talk. We got a couple of stories that come together. One is about the group GLAAD, which is Gay and Lesbians Against Defamation. It's a
Two A's.
LGBT. Yeah, it's a
Alliance Against
Alliance-
Defamation?
Yes. It's
Okay.
an LGBTQ advocacy group that has given Hollywood a failing grade as far as representation in the year 2022, even though the stats are for 2021. We're going to talk about that. We are also going to talk about the fact that Hollywood just seems to cancel nothing but sapphic television shows, right? That's
Brett didn't know what sapphic meant,
I
and
didn't.
he was better off for his ignorance. Basically, it just means lesbian.
Yes. So we're going to talk about that. And then I have a bone to pick with James Cameron and some observations that he made about why Terminator Dark Fate failed. I'm not going to go off on too much of a rant, but I've got a few things to say. And then Harry and Meghan are just stupid. We're gonna end on that one later. So
Someone said two-person shows is a vibe. You're so right.
It's a total
It's a
vibe.
vibe.
What you guys, what it is like there's like natural anxiety that comes with like a 3-person show because you want to make sure that everybody gets their stuff in.
Or four people as
that's-
well. Like, that's a lot of different voices trying to get their opinions in.
It is.
But today, we rule.
Yes.
We own this show.
It's just us. So, Mary, if you are ready, we can just go ahead. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Guest who is not here. Are you ready? They're ready. All right. Here we go, guys. So it says, we're just going to go right into it. We're going to talk about the statement that Henry Cavill made. He is out as Superman. He made a statement on his Instagram post, and I've got that here. He says,
So sad.
Yeah, I'm just going to read it. It says, I'm tempted to read it in his stoic English voice, but I'm not going to.
You won't be able to keep it
I
up the
know.
whole time.
I have just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it is sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October prior to their hire, this news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens, and I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. For those of you who have been by my side through the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember, Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape has passed, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all. Onwards and upwards. Even as he's screwed by Hollywood, he is magnanimous, professional, and incredible.
Henry Cavill
What is
is
this
being so gracious to James Gunn, almost to a fault, about this news. And it just shows that,
I want a little snark.
Henry Cavill, he's going to be just fine. He's extremely talented, gracious, easy to work with, marketable. He's a total beefcake. And I think James Gunn is going to find out with time that this decision is actually going to leave him with the L.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't know it yet.
Well,
James Gunn just showed us the definition of not listening to the fans. Because if there was one thing I saw people were unanimously agreeing on, it's that they wanted Henry Cavill back as Superman.
Yep.
Henry Cavill himself wanted this outcome, and we won't get it because James Gunn has this habit of lowering the stakes for everything that he writes and directs, including now a rumored origin story film starring a different actor as Superman in his younger years.
I don't know who they get to do that, but I feel horrible for whoever they have to cast.
That guy is going to get cyberbullied.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen to him.
And it won't be their fault. That's the sad part.
It's not Liam Hemsworth's fault. It's not Liam Hemsworth's fault that he replaced Henry Cavill on The Witcher. But he's going to get bullied too, because you replace someone who is beloved as this classic character.
Also, this means that Gunn he has confirmed that he is writing this Superman movie.
Yes.
I don't like that idea. I like it when he sticks to less recognizable characters. He will not be directing it.
Here's what he tweeted. He said, Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the year. Among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. Yep. But we just had a meeting with Henry and we're big fans. We talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. If Henry Cavill is smart, though, I think, say goodbye to DC, because this is extremely disrespectful that they would have told him to announce his return to the role on social media before they even confirmed that this was happening, before they even began production, is insane. That's an insane decision.
Gunn wasn't hired yet, so there's nothing they could do about it. Like, the Gunn got hired and then the course shifted as quickly as it started. I have a solution, though, guys. For the people in the chat, what I've decided is this is what I would like to do. Before we keep going, what I think they should do, take the original Justice League and make all of them bad guys. What I want you to do is I want you to make Henry Cavill Lex Luthor. I want you to make Ben Affleck either Man-Bat or Deathstroke. I want you to make Ray Fisher Bronze Tiger. I want Gal Gadot to play Ravager or Talia al Ghul. I want Ezra Miller to just be gone and disappear. And I want Jason Momoa to be Lobo. I think you could do something with that. I especially would like to see Ben Affleck as either Man-Bat or possibly Deathstroke. But he could also do something like or Superman could play Bizarro Superman. Henry Cavill could play Bizarro Superman with the backwards voice. But there's a bunch of options here. And I know they will never do this.
No, they will never do this.
It's a horrible idea, but I was just like, how could we?
As long as we're on that note of coming up with new ideas, I saw this tweet that called for a new lineup where Andrew Tate plays Aquaman, Kanye West is Cyborg, Ghislaine Maxwell is Wonder Woman, Elon Musk plays Batman, Woody Allen plays Alfred, Sam Hyde plays Superman.
That's horrible.
In our nightmare fuel world.
How about we do this? I don't even like the casting idea, but somebody give Henry Cavill Bond. Just let him be Bond.
I don't know. I don't think that
let him be Bond
necessarily is the right rebound for him.
But I want to know how.
Obviously, he should be sought after and given the roles that he does best and that people love him for, and yet James Gunn is not business savvy enough to know that would be incredibly popular.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, I've also not that long ago advocated. I said, look, they just need to wipe the slate. They need to get rid of all of them because there's too many loose ends that are connected to other ends of the universe that people either have really strong feelings for or against, and it works against them every time to have the leftover materials with bad feelings and all the things that are associated with that. I just don't know how you cast an IP as iconic as the Justice League as perfectly as they did and still bat 175 at the plate without any home runs whatsoever. You could call Aquaman a triple, I guess. It made $1 billion, but it wasn't all that great of a movie. I don't know how you end up doing that. It's also funny, too, because Ezra Miller's still there, but I have a strong feeling he will be gone.
There were a lot of people outraged that Ezra Miller is still playing the Flash. They either want this movie to be canceled altogether, which shows a lack of awareness of the stakes of a film of that level, or they wanted him to be recast, and again, that's not going to happen. It's coming out in June.
Also, we found out that they have been in talks with Ben Affleck to direct a DC movie, and that makes way more sense. And what you'll remember, guys, is that when this all got started, when he got hired on and they finished Batman vs. Superman, he was originally attached to write, direct, and star in an Escape from Arkham Batman movie with Deathstroke, played by Joe Manganiello. And this was like right as Affleck was going through like the worst of his like rehab addiction issues and stuff like that. It's why his weight fluctuates so heavily throughout the Justice League movie. But Affleck was supposed to write, direct, and star in a Batman movie. Now you could get him, since he is far more interested. Think about what we talked about with actors' equity. He is far more interested in working behind the camera than he is in front of the camera these days. And you get a director, a writer who is passionate about the source material. Ben Affleck is a huge Batman and a huge DC fan. You can keep them on. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe that's how he keeps the Snyder fans happy by keeping Affleck on behind the camera.
As an outsider, I'm just amused by the responses related to Zack Snyder. Either it's Zack Snyder fans saying that only he can remedy the destruction that James Gunn is planning for the DC franchise, or it's people blaming Zack Snyder creating this dumpster fire of a universe that James Gunn has to come and save.
That's not
and it's
him
an impossible task.
He casted and hired well. He made movies that were very, very polarizing, but I don't think he's to blame. It's not him that you blame the blame at the foot of. It's the studio and the constant interference. This goes well beyond Zack Snyder. There was heavy influence to David Ayer's version of Suicide Squad that they ruined. The studio at DC is legendary for not letting their creators make what they want to make and constantly getting involved, constantly making ham-fisted decisions that end up blowing up in their face. This is DC Entertainment and Warner Brothers' fault, not any one director or creator. Oddly enough, I would add that Zack Snyder is a big reason why the first Wonder Woman did so well, because the characters were based on his story and he helped the writing process. That was not Patty Jenkins who wrote that movie. But I just want to know, like, out of all of them to get rid of, like, if I was to say, like, when I said before, I said they should get rid of all of them and just start over. But if there was one you should have kept Henry Cavill as Superman. And don't bring him back.
That was the least divisive casting decision that they had. And it was what I saw everyone asking for. I don't understand what goes behind a decision like this. As for Ben Affleck directing, James Gunn did say he met with him yesterday or day before yesterday about that, but they aren't going to have him directing this Superman film.
No, I think he will end up doing a Batman, possibly a Batman.
So
no,
one person,
it wouldn't be, that depends on if they introduce Robert Pattinson's The Batman, because then that's still Matt Reeves is in charge of that trilogy. So maybe he does something else.
Yeah, but they just haven't found it yet.
Oh, that was the other thing. I said he should do a Deathstroke movie. If James Gunn wants to move away from the original Trinity, which is in complete contradiction to what David Zaslav... That's an idiotic idea anyway. Well, and it goes in complete contradiction with what David Zaslav said, because they want to focus on those money-making characters. Deathstroke is a really, really good way to go, in kind of the same way that Deadpool was a very, very good way to go for Marvel. So it would be very, very cool to see them do something like that. Also, maybe you could get Ben Affleck to do a Green Lantern or a Green Arrow movie. Like, those are both very, very good options. So it will be also like...
I want to mention this Weasley tweet.
Oh, yes.
So someone asked James Gunn in the replies, please tell me this isn't an origin movie. And James Gunn quote tweets them and says, no way. Now, this could either mean... no, it's not an origin story. Or it could mean, no, I'm not going to tell you that it's not an origin story.
Total weasel words.
So is that intentional? I don't know. Being intentionally ambiguous with fans, once again, just creates bad morale, a bad relationship. And, I hate that The Rock seemingly used this Superman cameo at the end of Black Adam to drum up attention for Black Adam. And revealed that he had no genuine desire to see Henry Cavill return to his role. He just wants Black Adam to surpass Superman in popularity, which is delusional at best, egomaniacal at worst.
It also sucks to see an actor like Henry Cavill to get such a perfectly casted role in which you didn't really get any movie that really understood the spirit of what the Superman character is supposed to be. You could say that that's Zack Snyder's fault. It is a fair criticism to say that what he always wanted to do was make a Batman movie, and they didn't give him a Batman movie. He got to make... And even Ben Affleck never got a solo Batman movie. He only got to work in the team film, so that doesn't actually make any sense. But It's heartbreaking to see, because in an industry where being supportive of fans, being supportive of Hollywood following source material is really looked upon with a heavy amount of derision from the people in charge and the other actors who see it all as a platform for them to bolster their own careers.
The Rock just uses this as a buzzword phrase.
Yeah. Whereas Henry
to
Cavill
get
lives
upvotes on Twitter, and he doesn't live it out, just like you said. As for Henry Cavill possibly returning to The Witcher, I'm seeing tons of memes claiming that Liam Hemsworth is going to be caught by surprise, and then
he just walks
Henry Cavill walks into set and he's back, but that's not going to happen because we covered this. Henry Cavill left The Witcher for his own reasons, his own differences with the showrunners and writers who we learned had disdain for the source material, the books, the games. They made fun of the source material together, and they wanted to change it with the adaptation. They're ruining it with the 3rd and 4th season. I think people are going to drop off really quick after Liam Hemsworth starts his run in the series. Yep. So he had this beef with the showrunners, and once again, it's Henry Cavill being the man of the people, caring about the source material, wanting to reflect the values of the character and the integrity of it, and he's shot down.
Yep. And it's you just don't have an industry where people take that magnanimous of an approach to anything they do anymore. They always find a way. They always find a way to blame someone or something about something like this. But maybe it is because he's just a straight white dude that he can't blame it on anyone else. So he has to be magnanimous. It's how it's how he's raised.
Or he's just smart. Maybe he is furious and also embarrassed. I hope that he at least fires whatever manager or agency got him into this mess, because it's done a lot of damage to his career. I think
we'll have to wait and see if that's true. A lot of people think he's going to Marvel because he went to a Marvel premiere recently. It would be interesting.
That would be an ultimate bamboozle.
Yeah, somebody said they should put
more proof of
Captain Britain.
The theory that James Gunn is a mole from Marvel.
They're
sent to sabotage DC.
I imagine that Anna, that Star Wars girl, is watching the video of Henry Cavill putting the computer together right now to cope with the fact that this is going on. That was that was great when she's like, that is he's a nerd, and like that. I've told that story before, that he legitimately almost missed the call that said he got the role because he was in the middle of a World of Warcraft campaign, because he's legitimately a dork, and he just happens to be a very, very buff dork. Though there's a lot of really great, it's your girlfriend, when a girl says that she likes nerds and they show a picture of Henry Cavill, it's like, no, that's not the normal nerd. That's the abnormal nerd, guys. So it's just sad to see them bungle it. But I will say that if I'm going to play devil's advocate here, James Gunn is in the formative stages of a very, very long and grueling process, and I don't envy the amount of extremely difficult decisions he's going to have to make. And if you are going to get rid of all of them, it is actually the rare situation where you may have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because you just can't have any loose ends that connect to the rest of the universe, because it is fruit of the poisonous tree, right? You cannot have one person connect back to it and have another one. But does that mean that we get rid of...
The Superman movie wasn't supposed to be a direct sequel to Man of Steel.
But
it was going to be its own thing.
Then
I get
that's
confusing, but still, if you're going to keep any ties to previous movies, keep those castings, because they were really good.
Well, then maybe here's the other thing. Because people they just canceled the Batman Beyond movie. That's another strike against Gunn's record, because a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton is actually a great idea and doesn't force you to have to put him in the cape in the movie. So one thing they could do is wait a period of time. Maybe as they get more established, they bring him back for a solo movie, like a one-off in its own universe down the line.
Maybe, but still,
I don't think so. But if I were him, I wouldn't come back.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's
also they had 800.
Disrespectful.
There was a thing about how they have $800 million in tax write-offs and write-downs this year. Maybe they just can't afford him. Maybe they literally he's too expensive. Cavill costs a lot of money. Also, there's a petition that has been launched to keep Henry Cavill and get rid of James Gunn, which I'm sure it's got 500 signatures.
The fire James Gunn tweets have been ramping up. Even the fire David Zaslav tweets have been ramping up. People are mad at both of them. People think that Warner is being massively mismanaged at this point.
I really think that maybe getting Ben Affleck to direct an Arkham, either an Arkham movie or a movie about Deathstroke would be the way to go for him. And now I think, in the chat, Shimmy Shelley says, gonna go rewatch Man from U.N.C.L.E. I might have to rewatch either Man from U.N.C.L.E. or Man of Steel tonight just to the cope. Just for the cope about what you do. It's like, how do you mess this up? How do you mess this up? It doesn't make any sense to me.
He fumbled the bag, and now we're all laughing at him.
But what's also, it's like, I don't envy him. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, the news is going to keep coming out.
What are you supposed to do?
It is
at
almost
least
more The
not
Rock's
this.
It is almost more The Rock's fault. If we hadn't got the announcement that he was coming back, it wouldn't have hurt so much to find out that he's not going to be Superman anymore. It was like they gave him to us, and then they snatched him away.
Right. But The Rock didn't... They didn't have to allow The Rock to have that cameo.
No.
You know?
No.
He clearly wanted that cameo as a cheap way to get more eyes on the movie.
Also,
and
you know
it
what
didn't
this
have
means?
organic support. It flopped.
You know what this really means? Walter Hamada is over there at Paramount right now or whatever he's doing, directing horror movies, laughing because he got the
Right.
last laugh against Henry Cavill. And that's wrong. I don't want Walter Hamada to have the last laugh about this. I want
It's
Henry
just not
Cavill
right.
to have the last laugh about this.
We're watching the implosion of this franchise, and there is nothing that can save it.
Also, guys, it is one of those things where the more we cover, at least this is concrete, and we got the story direct from the horse's mouth, right? Like, I'm getting sick of, like, sources close to this person says, I'm going to start, like, seeing pictures of James Gunn, and everyone who's around him, I'm like, is that the actual source close to James Gunn?
Where's the source?
Is that the guy? Like, I want to know. It's
Anonymous source breathing down James Gunn's neck.
it is so sad. But it is almost like trial by fire for him. Like, every day he's like, I said that. When did I say that? Like, he has to have all this stuff coming out. But get off Twitter for a bit, dude. Get off Twitter for a bit and just focus on what you're doing.
No wonder Peter Safran isn't having to deal with hashtag fire Peter Safran. He's not tweeting.
He's smart. He's very smart.
Let's go to Super Chats, guys. Yeah. Potatoes for Seamus said no Seamus, and then a bunch of crying emojis and potato emojis. What can we do? We can't force Seamus to be here.
I'm sure he's got better things to do right now. He's probably very busy.
Sure.
Yes.
Greg Duvier said, since Henry Cavill is out of Superman, can he go back to The Witcher?
I don't think that's gonna. I don't think he has more. I would argue that he has more problems with the direction of The Witcher than Superman. Like, direction of Superman is just maybe he likes the direction, but it's just they're not going forward with him. With The Witcher, they were taking something he was actively a part of, and first of all making fun of it, and then changing things. There was the
changing
thing,
his own character and how his character acted.
There was a part where they said that he had to improvise lines from book 2 in the second season because he just couldn't get them to write in anything that was actually true to the books. So
yeah, and I hate knowing that he might have stepped out of The Witcher, yes, with his own concerns, but also with the hope that he'd be moving on to Superman, which he was excited about.
Just make him Bond. I don't even care if he's too bulky and buff to play Bond. He can slim down a little bit.
He could, yeah.
Go get the swimmer's physique rather than the muscle physique, and then go and beat up a bunch of bad guys.
Potatoes for Seamus said, I'm no ignoramus. Give us Seamus. Hi, Brett and Mary.
That was very clever.
That's funny.
Also, you don't hear ignoramus nearly enough in the world.
Johnny Derp said, just want to see Mary struggle to say...
Mystic, I think.
Wait, is it Mystic?
I have no idea.
It's MXYZPTLK.
I wouldn't have been able to pronounce it.
Why is it Mystic? Yep. And then Caper2X said, Mary said, is it Mystic? I don't know what it means. Carnell said, hail to the chat, cowabunga, Brett. Hi, Mary. I don't know what greeting that is.
Well, you've never heard the term cowabunga?
It's been a long time since I heard that word.
You've never watched an episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the show? Cowabunga.
I probably did.
And the movies?
Yeah.
Yes, cowabunga.
The thing is, my brothers weren't really into that.
Oh, well, that is a problem. Here's the thing. I rewatch the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie once a year. But the other... It's
like a tradition that you have.
I love...
There's a set date that you
No
rewatch.
set date. It's so good. You have to watch it. It's so good.
Rolando A. Ramirez said, Trump's trading card NFTs look hilarious.
They do.
Not buying one, but they look so funny.
Also, the ad is really, really funny where Trump's like, they're the best trading cards. You should get them for your family members for Christmas before the holidays. It's
If you asked him what an NFT is, he'd be like, oh, Images.
Yeah. Well, I'm
a big fan of them.
I want to know, I want to ask Trump's take on AI art. I want to know what the hell he thinks about AI art. Like, what does Donald Trump think about AI art? What does Donald Trump think about NFTs? What is his take on, like, TikTok dances?
This is why we need him back on Twitter.
We do.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, when the roosters are crowing and the cows are spinning circles in the pasture, hashtag ducks fly together.
This is a reference to this jersey that I'm wearing, which is the Hawks jersey from the very first Mighty Ducks movie. Now, the quote she said is from the second from the second Mighty Ducks movie.
Okay.
Ducks, turtles, it's all over the place.
How did they know that just from the top of the shirt? It looks mostly black.
The logo on the side has the Hawks logo. This is an Adam Banks jersey, ladies and gentlemen. I have had this for a long time, and I never wear it, and I finally decided to wear it because the movie.
Looks good.
Yes, everyone should go. By the way, there is totally like a Chinese knockoff. They don't make real ones of these. I had to get it on eBay like a long time ago. But they not only now have this one, guys, they actually have this is the one that the main team plays. Like in the movie, Gordon Bombay coaches District 5, which goes up against the Hawks before they become the Mighty Ducks, right? This is the jersey that the modern team wears, right? But Bombay played for the Hawks when he was a kid. And now on eBay, you can get the Hawks jersey from the Bombay year of 1973, which is a different design. I'm here for it.
The lore goes
I kind of want to
deep.
buy. I kind of want to buy it, but I'm like, dude. Do you really need that? You don't even really wear the one you have. Is it really something you should be spending money on?
Well, you wear it now.
Maybe
There
now
you
after
go.
I'm like in the middle of the show, I'm like, maybe I do need it.
Making
like,
impulse buys during
the show. Yeah.
Johnny Derp said, could cast Elliot Page as Geralt, the Switcher.
Oh my God.
Yikes, dude.
There's some
maybe.
great Geralt of something. Yeah, I'm not.
Sorry, Geralt.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yes.
We're not going there. We could. I am, however, supportive of them going all
Not
the way.
with that wig. Oh no.
I am, however, supportive of them going in and just making making Elliot Page replace Ezra Miller. Just do it. Just do it. Go all the way with it. Be ridiculous.
Throw it to the wind.
Yep.
Yesh said, no Seamus, so lamus.
Is it Lamus or Lamius? I ask you.
Lamius. Corey Anderson said, I haven't seen a movie since my wife had me take her to see Cats.
Oh my God.
Oh no. I refuse to give Hollywood my money anymore until they decide to have original ideas again, and I hate CGI. Practical effects only.
The funny thing is the practical effects is the way to go, but original ideas, we are so far past that
That's over.
now. That ended ages
Maybe
ago.
Oppenheimer.
You can make not original ideas, but I actually would posit that you can make original movies with really crazy special effects like Everything Everywhere All at Once, or you can make unoriginal movies with practical effects, and maybe as long as you have one or the other, you're okay.
Right.
Maybe? I don't know. All right, let's hold off.
But if you saw Cats, that's not reflective of
everything.
Of everything in cinema right now. That was pretty egregious.
Also, I want to point out that for the most part, I've been pretty positive about most of the movies. I'm the sap.
It.
I liked it.
That's what Brett says.
That's what Mary said. She makes fun of me.
It was fun. I liked it.
Like I did. I am the movie reviewer version of the person who goes to watch the Super Bowl but doesn't watch football and says, I just hope both teams had fun.
I like the commercials.
Yeah.
That's you.
That is me. All right, guys, we are moving on. So right now,
this one's a doozy.
Yes. Okay. So the Rings of Power, the very, very diverse, inclusive, stunning, and brave Rings of Power, the show everybody loved, the show that everybody cannot wait for season 2, the one that got so many Golden Globe nominations that it didn't get any Golden Globe nominations, has announced its director's team for season 2 of the show, and it is very diverse. It is super inclusive. It's all women.
So diverse. If our expectations for the next season of Rings of Power could get lower than rock bottom. So their team just outdoes themselves with new ways to discourage people from watching. Isn't that crazy?
So the names of it's Charlotte Brandstrom, Sana Hamri, and Louise Hooper. That is the name of your 3 directors. Now, Charlotte Brandstrom was a director in season 1, but the 2 male directors that were also part of season 1 have been kicked to the curb. I love the idea that you take a problem that was created by identity politics and you try to fix it with identity politics.
Well, here are the red flags with each of them, actually.
Go for it.
Charlotte Brandstrom she's going to be working on 4 episodes in Rings of Power season 2. She previously worked on The Witcher, which, as we just discussed, had a problem of hating the source material.
I love it.
Here is what someone who worked on The Witcher said about that problem. He said, "My general rule was you had to be a fan, no questions. I've been on shows, namely The Witcher, where some of the writers were not or actively disliked the books and games, even actively mocking the source material. It's a recipe for disaster and bad morale. Fandom as a litmus test checks egos and makes all the long nights worth it. You have to respect the work before you're allowed to add to its legacy." So, obviously, in Rings of Power, we have not accomplished this standard.
Not
this
quite.
very low standard of not mocking or hating the source material or its author.
Maybe this is also a fact that we just did a video the other day about a guy who wrote a story. It was like, there's not enough women in the Rings of Power. And
This was their response?
They got the wrong memo, and they're like, oh, you meant in front of the camera. Sorry, we hired all broads behind the camera.
We just took down that article 1 by 1 points, and then now we get this news, which, you know, Rings of Power obviously couldn't be woke enough, and it never will be. But anyway, all female directors in context just means that the new team is going to influence the majority male cast members that they're bringing on. It's 16 new cast members, and only 3 of them are female.
I have a question.
The influence is going to be that these male characters are just going to behave less like men.
Yes, because that's the funny part. The women characters will be directed by women to act like men, and the male characters directed by women will be directed to act like women. This is also funny. I was told by Hollywood that you couldn't possibly write, direct, or understand anyone that lived a life experience other than the life experience that you yourself lived. So unless there is a black female elf and a black male elf and a bunch of different iterations of people that are actually not real things directing episodes, I don't buy that you can
Unless
do this.
you're a Harfoot, you can't write any of the lines for Nori.
You
basically.
can't. Well,
that's where the logic takes you.
How could a woman possibly direct Halbrand to as he becomes Sauron to take over? How could they do that?
Exactly.
How could they understand what it means to be a man?
And I was just complaining about this before we went live, that Halbrand should have been, you know, they shouldn't have done this stupid plot twist at the end where Halbrand is Sauron, okay? Yeah. They should have allowed Halbrand to just be a good, trustworthy, competent male character.
That's not a thing.
For Galadriel, if they're going to have this romantic subplot between them, she can be a little less stony and cold and flat-faced.
I will also
around
point out,
him.
I will live and die by the idea that the world is not fair. Men can survive in these movies by being stone-faced and obstinate and not really, really warm or in any way, shape, or form likable. You can make a male character like that and it works. You can't really do that with a female character. Sorry,
when you make
breaks.
A cold, closed-minded, or stony male character, though, you're shown so many examples where they're called on that behavior and they learn from it.
Yes.
But when a female character behaves with the same disposition, she's only proven right over and over and over again. It's extremely repetitive. And
take that, you incels.
Galadriel is just like that. Halbrand obviously should have not been made, you know, this plot twist Sauron at the end. It was stupid. Anyway, this other director, Louise Hooper, is also credited with working on The Witcher. And she also worked on Netflix's Sandman series, which I saw a lot of fans say got destroyed.
Yeah, but people loved that. That show's generally pretty highly regarded.
It was divisive.
It's literally
like I saw
every character's gay. Other
a
than
lot
that,
of fans say that they destroyed that property. And then the next director, Sana Hamri, worked on The Wheel of Time, yet another fantasy adaptation that a lot of fans hated. And she also worked on Glee, on Shameless, and on Desperate Housewives.
They also talk, well, you know, Nothing wrong with Desperate Housewives, am I right? No. I've actually never seen an episode of Desperate Housewives. But another thing that's funny about this is they talk about the sheer amount of criticism for the show that the first season got, how it wasn't in line with they talk about, well, the audience score was so low, but the critic score was so high. That doesn't really matter because when you take a show with the size and scope of The Lord of the Rings, your criticism will exponentially go up. Meaning that if you had called this generic generic fantasy series number 3 by Amazon, the criticism probably still would have been there, but it would have been far, far less. But you are the one who made your own bed. Now it's time to lie in it. You bought the property. You want all the good publicity that comes with it. You now have to take the bad publicity. But now here's the problem. We're not going to be allowed to have bad publicity again. They're going to double down in that if you have any critique at all of anything they do in season 2, if Galadriel suddenly becomes even worse, you're not allowed to criticize that because you're being a sexist. You're being a misogynist.
Well, you're not allowed to criticize the character of Galadriel at all because of all of these fangirls that think that Mary Sue doesn't exist. It's exactly what she is. Worse. So with all of these cast changes, if you didn't think the cast was bloated enough, and the new director team,
like
and also the rumor that they're replacing the showrunners, it seems like the next season of Rings of Power is going to be unrecognizable, not even resembling the first season. And at first, that sounds like it's good news. Yeah. Like on its surface, oh, great, it's not going to be like the first season. But no, it actually means that you're just going to get an entirely new, distinct pile of shit that is bad and unbearable to watch for a myriad of new and exciting reasons.
All the men are braiding each other's hair, and they're actually talking about how cute the rings are.
Yeah. I mean, those rings were fruity, to say the least. Like, if you watched, they look like high school graduation rings. I didn't like that detail at all. Anyway, I saw some people supporting this decision. One Stan account said, Rings of Power is doing everything they can to piss off the incel haters. I know, that's right. We stand the right show.
I love the idea that they think that translates to money somehow.
Right. And then someone replied, they forgot to make a good show along the way. Yep. And another person replied, funny, because Galadriel is one of the most powerful beings in the Lord of the Rings movies, but here she became an annoying Mary Sue. And they posted a fan cam of Galadriel in response. So that's great.
I can't wait for all the thumbnails I'm going to get to make of her riding horses. It's going to be fantastic.
There are going to be so many more damning screen caps.
Well, also, let's talk about Sarah Michelle Gellar, because it speaks to what happened about behind the scenes and toxic men behind the scenes, right?
So she recently spoke at the Wrap's Power of Women Summit.
I want a Power of Men Summit in Hollywood where they just smoke cigars and talk about all the secretaries they've had sex with.
Sarah Michelle Gellar must have been talking with Morfydd Clark about this. She came out and said that Buffy the Vampire Slayer had an extremely toxic male set.
Yep.
So here's what she said. For so long, I was on a set that I think was known for being an extremely toxic male set. So that was ingrained in my head that was what all sets were like. And
because
that women were pitted against each other. If women became friends, then we became too powerful.
Sorry.
So you had to keep us down.
Women don't like each other. It's just a fact of life. Deal with it.
Or at least women on Hollywood sets.
I'm kidding.
Well, no, like that's a real phenomenon that is exaggerated and on a Hollywood set.
Nothing to do with women, just everyone's out to make their own bag.
Right.
You're not, like, you can't afford to be best buds with the people that, especially when you're younger and you're still sowing your oats, as they say, like, you are not allowed to just become buddy bud with somebody because they might stab you in the back. You're going for the same roles. You're in a very, very cutthroat, highly capitalist industry. You don't get to just be best friends with these people. Oddly enough, it works later on because they all become part of the same friend group and in groups. But early on, you're still developing connections. Oh, you know this person? I need to know this person. It's all networking. There's not an ounce of reality or realness to any of these people, but everyone knows that Joss Whedon is a scumbag.
I mean, this isn't to exonerate Joss Whedon. Yes, he's a scumbag and a self-proclaimed male feminist. Like, this is an ongoing problem.
That was your first clue.
That should have been your first red flag.
He's a male feminist. This
guy is obviously toxic. The definition of toxic masculinity is a male feminist.
Did you know that when Charisma Carpenter got pregnant, he asked her if she's going to keep it.
Dude, yeah.
He's such a skull. He wasn't allowed to be left in the same room as Michelle Trachtenberg because she was 16, and he was just like so like apparently not like a sexual thing, but he was just so mean that she would like leave in tears and then like wouldn't be able to work. He's just like a genuinely bad dude that nobody actually likes.
Charisma Carpenter said that he abused his power on numerous occasions, pitting people against one another to compete and vie for his attention and approval.
But it is funny how like they wait 20 years to make these complaints. They gave countless interviews in the last 20 years. Love Joss Whedon. We were such a family on that set because you're all lying.
Yeah.
You're all liars. And here's the thing. Yes, he's a scumbag. Yes, he probably was a jerk to all of you and made a show that is culturally more relevant than almost anything that's come out in the last 20 years. That show spun off Angel, a show that by all regards probably wouldn't even be able to succeed today because whenever they do spin-offs nowadays, nobody likes them. But it spun off, and David Boreanaz owes a lot of his career to the fact that he was in that show and then onto Angel and then went on to do other great things. And you know what? I don't like Joss Whedon. He's kind of a scumbag. I absolutely hate the fact that all characters in Hollywood nowadays are written like, everyone will tell me, yes, it's because of Kevin Smith. They say that everybody's written like Kevin Smith characters a la the late 90s. I would argue that most of the writers today are basing it off of, the younger writers today are basing it off of Joss Whedon characters rather than the Kevin Smith characters. I believe that the writers who grew up during when Kevin Smith stuff was popular were still talented enough that they didn't need to copy another writer's style. I don't believe that today's writers have that same ability. So they just copy Joss Whedon stuff. And yeah, male feminists. Never trust a male feminist. You don't need to go to the Empowering Woman summit. You just need to not trust male feminists.
Yeah, I mean, if you're overly vocal about how much you support women and you're better than other men and you're such a nice guy, I think that should be a red flag to all of the women who work with you that you might be toxic and you don't have a normal relationship with women.
There's a lot of people mentioning in the chat that Firefly is still great. Yes, Firefly, the TV show, is still great. Joss Whedon still did great work early on. He's just a scumbag, and that's just the industry. It is what it is. It's like Bryan Singer's still working. Bryan Singer's worse.
There are a lot of scumbags in Hollywood, most of which I bet aren't exposed yet to the public. So the only option you have is to just assume the worst, right?
Here's a fun fact. Did you know that Jewel Staite in that show had to put, like, she was so skinny, they made her put on weight to do that show. Like, she had to, like, not eat healthy and like, live unhealthily, like, to play that role.
Wow, I've never heard a story like that.
Well, I think back then, that would have been unheard of.
Right.
Crazy.
That's
like,
funny.
Also, from what I understand, like, all of those actors, like Nathan Fillion, Morena Baccarin, Jewel Staite, and the others, all, Gina Torres, all still have, like, rules in their contracts when they go to new shows that if something moves on Firefly, they can get out of their contract so they can go back to work on it because they loved working on it so much. Like, so, like, whatever they're on now, there's some rule in there. It's like, I get out if a Firefly project moves forward with us. And from what I understand, we did a video early days of this channel, that Disney has the rights to Firefly now because they bought 20th Century Fox. So you know that it's just going to be awful if they end up following through on that.
Yeah, let's hope they don't.
Also, that's early Adam Baldwin, the amazing Adam Baldwin.
I forget that he
Gamergate
exists.
Adam Baldwin.
Gamergate. Yeah, I forget that he coined that.
So guys, don't listen to male feminists and understand that it is a cutthroat work environment, and I don't think it really has anything to do with women supporting women. I don't think the men are any more supportive. It's not that they're not supportive of men. I think the men would categorize as that. It's not that I'm not supportive of you. It's that I'm putting my own interests first.
Well, it's funny when these actresses get older and more established in their careers, and then they come out and say that they've found solidarity with other women in the industry.
Or the career's on the downturn.
You found solidarity with other women in your industry when the stakes got lower, when the competition faded out.
And now when it's financially beneficial for you to give these interviews and talk about how toxic everything was back then.
Let me read a few of these super chats.
Let's do it.
Greg Duvier said, Brett, you cake eater?
That's a Mighty Ducks reference as well.
Okay.
Guys, everyone, if you have not seen the original Mighty Ducks, Go watch it just for the amazing national anthem scene right before the championship game and the extremely fake ice. It's one of my favorite things ever. Is like they do close-up shots of like the puck drop on the ice, and there's this one shot. It's the fakest looking ice it's like glass. It's not ice. It's not smoothed over ice. It's very clearly fake. And it's also like you can, like, now that you go through it, I found a channel, they go through and they pick out like where like somebody, because they have to have stunt skaters in a lot of it, all of the actors in the movie could skate. That was like a requirement. They had to either learn how to skate or could skate. But like you'll watch in some of the more intricate hockey scenes where the stick changes hands, where they went from left-handed to right-handed because they couldn't get a stunt guy who was the same hand as them. Also, let's face it, the flying V, they're offsides.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett's still waiting on the hat. JK LOL.
Oh, well, you know what? That is like, I've been like told that I have to do things and then get guilted into saying that I have to do things.
Like bleach your hair?
Like bleach
You've been
my
told
hair.
that you have to do things and then you do them
and
for
then
money?
I do them because, yeah, basically.
Hayden Terry said, Adidas released the whole Ducks collection.
Also, oh man, I'm gonna have to go check that out. Is it? I guess it's just not available.
Adidas.
Also, another thing, guys, something to keep in mind is when Coach Riley, who is objectively an awful person, tells number 7 McGill, to cross-check and purposely injure his former friend who now plays for the opposite team, he essentially turned McGill into a little tiny 12-year-old hitman.
Was that kind of like sweep the leg in Karate Kid?
Yeah, like he checks him from behind to get him out of the game because Banks was too good at hockey. And imagine the therapy that dude had to go through for years, knowing that like he injured a person on purpose because his hockey coach told him to do so. But it's not that far off. I grew up playing hockey in Minnesota. Pee-wee hockey.
I've seen videos of hockey parents and they go crazy.
Very serious business in there. But yeah, Jack Riley. And also, by the way, Ducksworth did nothing wrong. All he tried to do was get Bombay to come back to work, and Bombay's like, I'm not coming back to work.
Speaking of hockey parents, I heard this term earlier called Zamboni parents.
So it's like a helicopter parent?
Every time that your kid makes mistakes, you go and clean it up for them.
Oh my God. That's amazing. It's like that version of a helicopter parent, except for you're a Zamboni parent.
Right.
You go and fix things.
Yeah. Caper2X said, darn, they reach bottom and keep digging down. Make mine marvel. Is this about DC or about Rings of Power? It's kind of true either way.
Probably Rings of Power.
Okay. Big Dave sent 99 cents without a message. Thank you. Greg Duvier said, Buffy is one of my favorite shows. If any of these news shows want a strong female, watch Buffy.
It's also a funny example of a lot of like the people who have been screaming about how, oh, take that, you man baby incel. So what if they've diversified your show, are now complaining because they're making Black Buffy. That's been in production hell for like 4 years now. But I remember articles from the Mary Sue, like, why would you do this? Why would you race swap Buffy? And then everyone else is over here like,
that's funny.
Why would you do that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect the Mary Sue to.
It might have been something else, but it was one of those mainstream publications that was like, why would you do that?
Yesh said, Mary, Brett, chat, what is your go-to karaoke song?
I do not do karaoke.
I've never done karaoke in my life.
I do not.
That would take some thought.
Though,
sure.
Maybe it should be I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, that's a good
because
one. I'll share that one.
I recently rewatched the scene from Brooklyn Nine-Nine where they do the criminal lineup, and the lady like says like, I didn't see him, but I heard him singing the song I Want It That Way, and he makes all the men in the criminal lineup sing the song I Want It That Way in order. And then like at the chorus, he has them all harmonize the chorus together. And then when it's done, he goes, oh, chills. She goes, number 5. He killed my brother. He goes, oh, I totally forgot about that.
I've seen that scene on Twitter. It's funny.
All right, guys, we are moving on. So
the activists are mad again.
They're always
Can
mad.
You believe it?
Believe it or not. So GLAAD, it's Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, is a group that I think everyone's heard of. I've heard the acronym GLAAD for years. So they have done their yearly wrap up. The LGBTQ representation in Hollywood movies and films dropped sharply in 2021, according to them.
So they run this studio responsibility index study every year for the last decade.
Yes.
This is the 10th time they've done it. And they say that the major studios are failing at representing LGBTQ in movies and television. And I can't help but feel like that's not a reliable source.
No.
Because I haven't seen so many LGBTQ characters and
In
romance
my life.
subplots in my entire life until this year.
It's literally a denial
Every
of reality.
year surpasses the last in the prevalence of LGBT characters.
So I'm gonna read this. It says GLAAD's 10th annual Studio Responsibility Index, which was released on Thursday, found that the percentage of LGBTQ inclusive films dipped in 2021, as did racial diversity in screen time for queer characters. And two major studios, Lionsgate and Paramount, both received a failing grade for not having a single gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or queer character in their films. I have a question. Why is it like they use the term responsibility? Why is it their effing responsibility to do anything? It's their job to make movies. I'm saying right now, I support it when they do it well in movies. We can all have our own opinions on that. But the moment you tell me it has to be done, you lose me.
Look, I don't support it in any context because no matter how it's done, if it's a blink and you miss it, or if it's the entire movie that centers around it, you know that decision was made by a board meeting, a bunch of executives with gray hair sitting around a table.
Who are afraid of Twitter.
Who are afraid of getting backlash on Twitter or from NGOs just like this one. So isn't it funny? After we just reported that Universal doubled Walt Disney Pictures animated films with their revenue, they doubled them in 2020. That Universal gets a lower score on this index than Walt Disney Studios. So, isn't that funny?
It says they handed out insufficient or poor grades to 5 other major studios, including Sony Pictures, United Artists, Universal Pictures, the Walt Disney Company, and Warner Brothers. So it doesn't matter how much you pander. It will never, ever, 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 ever be enough. Never, ever.
Universal got a score of 30% and Walt Disney Studios got 42%. Yep. They had 5 LGBT inclusive films.
Also, they have something called the Vito Russo test, which I found fascinating. So this is the Vito Russo test. This is what you have to do to pass. You know what the Bechdel test is, right?
Yes, it's like the worst thing ever. So it says Bechdel test, in case the people viewing don't know, is about including scenes at least a certain benchmark long where 2 women talk about something other than a man for a minimum in the screen time of a film. So I mean, I don't know if that's valid or not.
So let's talk about the Vito Russo test. This is what you have to accomplish. It says the film contains a character that is identifiably lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. That character must not solely be or predominantly defined by their sexual orientation or gender identity, i.e. they are made up of the same sort of unique character traits commonly used to differentiate straight characters from another. The LGBTQ character must be tied into the plot in such a way that their removal would have a significant effect, meaning that they are not only there simply to provide colorful commentary, paint urban authenticity, or perhaps most commonly set up a punchline. Here's the thing.
At least the Bechdel test is very easy to calculate because it's about numbers.
This is insanely
completely subjective. Also, it's stochastic, if you will.
Yeah, it's a stochastic terrorist method. The funny thing about this here is they talk about how if the character is to die or be removed, that it would have a significant impact. You can't do that because you can't. They have rules that say that you can't kill gay characters. It's called you can't bury your gays. You can't do that. You're not allowed to kill off gay characters. Here's the problem: the second that you start implementing quotas, rules, and regulations for anything, you stifle and ruin creativity. And any artist should feel offended and, in a way, sort of defensive when you tell them that they have to do something. Bros would fail this test.
What studio did Bros come from?
I believe Bros was Universal. I could be wrong. It was either Paramount or Universal. But
I think it was
you're telling me that the characters, that there isn't a character that's not solely defined by their sexual, like they would have to be, like a lot of those characters are defined by their sexuality. The whole movie is about their sexuality.
Right. That's what they said about Strange World that came from Disney this year. A movie for children, by the way.
It's a 7 of 17 major studio films GLAAD counted LGBTQ characters that managed to pass the Vito Russo test this year. 6 of the 14 inclusive films released in 2012. So they 12. The numbers are not really all that different according to them. I don't believe you. That the numbers were like that in 2012 and they're up to just a few more in 2022, 2021? No way. So it says all 7 studios received insufficient, poor, or failing grades in the new to the index evaluation of public advocacy of LGBTQ issues. So you not only do you have to have it be part of the story, you have to advocate for their social issues, even if the story you're telling has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, this is what happens. You make a series or you make a film that solely focuses on sexuality, or you market it solely with the character's sexuality. It doesn't do well. You blame homophobia.
Yep.
And then you don't make money. It's like, again, we're in the post-profit age.
I think we need to focus on that more and more as we go, because it seems like more and more we don't hear a lot of stories. What was there other than Top Gun this year that was a strong, huge financial success that everyone's raving about? We are in the age of post-profit. You don't need to make money anymore. You just need to. Now, I'm not going to get into the argument about investing and whether this is stuff to do with what's it called, like DIE investing. I just forget the term off the top of my head.
Diversity, equity, inclusion.
No, but it's not that. I'm thinking for in the chat. What am I thinking of right now?
I don't know. They'll let us know.
Yes.
I love that Eternals passed the Vito Russo test.
Yes. Well, the first openly gay kiss in a Marvel movie that nobody cared about had their first sex scene that was extremely boring.
I can't wait to see whether Wakanda Forever passed.
It won't. It wouldn't. So to me, it says 7 studios. So insufficient, poor, or failing grades in the new to the index evaluation of public advocacy, employee resources, and political giving from studios and parent companies. It's inherently political.
Right.
They've.
I mean, it's not about entertainment anymore. Obviously.
ESG, that's what I was thinking of. It's environmental, social, and governance. Right. So that's everyone talks about that. I don't know how to rate that. Like, I've heard 900 different definitions of how you rate it, but it does seem to be a strong component of this would fall under the social category. Or even this, if you look at this right here, it says political giving. So it's not just social, it's also governance. It also has to do with trying to push for these companies, not only to, like Bob Chapek clumsily not knowing what to do with the parental rights and education bill. You have to not only advocate for them there, you have to advocate for them in your movies. It's all encompassing. It's like you're like I want to do what I want to do. You want to do what you want to do. And they're just like following you around, telling you have to do things their way because of what? Mob progressivism, because it's the right thing to do based on generic criteria, based on your opinion of what is right. And this is coming from somebody who has no problem with gay marriage, no problem with any of it. I have a problem with authoritarianism, enforcing your views and your opinions on
I have
people.
a problem with those things.
I know.
I think that people out there whose consciences don't align with what they're being shown in media, like myself, should have their voices heard. If you're not okay with showing your children people of the same sex in romantic relationships on screen, then what outlet do you have? Like, there's no representation for heterosexual relationships, traditional family structures.
Well, that's now looked on as negative anyways.
2-parent households. Where is the representation for these things?
It's funny because
do we have NGOs advocating for the representation of traditional family structures in media? No.
It's funny too, because it's like, it is so rare that I told you that story the other day. I said, I think I came to realize that the reason I like Top Gun Maverick is just because he gets the girl at the end. He gets the girl at the end, and it's just a traditional
and it's
story.
not a weird humiliation ritual to lash men.
And here's the thing. This will be cry bullying forever, because the goalpost will be shifted every year. It will never, ever be enough. And you have to understand that.
You see that each 5-star rating system they use every year for one of these studios, the rating never goes up.
They will never pass. They'll say, and even if they do, it's
let alone pass. It never changes. It's 1 star or 2 stars every year for the last decade.
And even if they do, but there's more work to be done.
There's
always more work to be done.
They're never satisfied.
Yep.
So now we have this situation where all of these series keep getting approved that center around LGBT characters.
Yes.
The plot lines focus heavily on their sexual orientation. and they last for a season, maybe 2 seasons, and then they get canceled.
Because they're advertised as nothing other than... They don't actually... Like, even if they're good shows, they're just advertised as the show with gay people in it. Which is extremely insulting to them, to the creators, if they've actually done good work. But what was it? It was like literally marketed as the teenage vampire lesbian show.
I don't even remember the name of it because that was all that was marketed about it.
And the people who made it said that. They said, well, the marketing never seemed to make it past the fact that it was teenagers and gay.
Right.
It's like, yeah, well, of course.
Like, why do you think that it didn't have long-term viewership then? Yeah. So basically the gay shows keep getting canceled and people on the internet are mad about it.
Big mad.
And by gay shows, I don't mean just in the juvenile pejorative sense of the word.
You're saying that they're actual LGBTQ
The whole point of the show is that they're gay and there's no depth to the story at all. This is how First Kill got canceled after a season. Warrior Nun just got canceled after a season. It keeps happening. And I keep seeing people complaining about it on Twitter. Here's one tweet. Netflix canceling sapphic shows after giving them no promotion and dropping them next to highly anticipated shows is another level of evil. First Kill coming out between Stranger Things Volume 1 and 2 and Warrior Nun coming out 2 weeks before Wednesday. Listen, just say that you can't compete.
Yeah, like you can't keep up.
Just say that you can't compete because they're not strategically timing these shows to fail. Why would Netflix set themselves up to make less money? That's insane.
It's just that it's bad.
You have a conspiratorial mindset more than any of the way you accuse people on the right of having conspiracies. This is a literal conspiracy that Netflix is plotting for its own demise. You're crazy. Another person said, breaking. According to a new Netflix press release, Wednesday has been viewed to completion at least 15 times by every man, woman, and child on the planet, some dogs too. The total is 700 trillion hours of viewing time. Also, Wednesday has been canceled effective immediately. So obviously, this is a joke. Yes, I'll concede that Netflix does come up with bunk, obscure, fake record benchmarks so that they can call all of their new releases record-breaking.
And all of the
hype around Wednesday
was real,
was genuine, and they even surpassed Dahmer recently.
You can't fake that.
Yeah, so I think what that shows actually is that the queer baiting shows draw more attention and conversation than shows that focus on openly gay, tokenized characters with aggressive marketing campaigns on just that aspect.
And here's the thing.
The will they, won't they conversation is way more interesting than using gay subplots as the main selling point for why you should watch something. That will draw an initial burst of attention, but it doesn't give a show long legs.
Hollywood has made gay characters for years. The reason you never saw the relationships on screen is there was a point where they wouldn't make the main character gay because they wanted to make the main character more relatable to the majority of the population, which is, remember, we just passed like 8 billion people on this planet. You do not get there by 30% of the population being gay. You don't.
No, and they don't even want 30%. They want more than 50% in all of this entertainment, and it doesn't reflect the real world. It reflects Hollywood.
And what I mean by that, and what I was trying to say is like, okay, so for years they've had either coded as gay or actually gay characters in secondary roles, but usually the characters in those secondary roles, you're not looking into their romantic life. It's just not part of the story because the main character, if you're going to get romance from a character that's a main character, that character is being made straight. It's just how it was. Also, it's really funny too because it shouldn't really matter in these things anyways, because I'm thinking like, and I was going to bring this up in the segment we were talking about before, if I'm watching a show about a firefighter, I don't care who he's having sex with or who she's having sex with. I care about whether they're actually saving the day. But they keep focusing on this stuff and they think that people find sex more interesting than they do.
I mean, to the extent that this is a valid way to gain traction on a streaming platform, it's only when there is a curiosity about it and not being shoved down your throat. Like with Wednesday and Enid, her friend, have this will they won't they throughout the series, and it's not likely that they'll ever show that on screen. And all these people were crying and soiling themselves because they didn't get the satisfying end scene that they wanted where Enid and Wednesday get together. But it's precisely because they didn't shove it in your face that it's more appealing.
Well, yeah, it's like, and this happens with straight shows too, where characters have will they, won't they's, and the actors have great chemistry, and they don't answer the question. They do not burn down the city with their propaganda and with their yelling, saying, "Why didn't you give me what I wanted?" Because they understand this is just entertainment. Right. But these people don't see it as entertainment. They see it as cultural enforcement.
Hollywood is incredibly pro-gay. Netflix, incredibly pro-LGBT everything. That's why they keep approving these gay shows, because they want them to succeed. But when they end up having to cut corners because we're going to an economic downturn right now, the tactic repeatedly fails.
And you think that the writer's strike means that what they should do, because these shows are being pulled off streaming services because nobody's watching them. They want to own it. They want to turn it into actual social. They want these studios to have to surrender the power to the people and be told what they can or cannot put on these on their streaming services. I'm also sick to death of creatives who look, I'm all for the writers and the creatives, but I'm sick to death of the studio spending the money. They spent the money. Right. They took the risk. They get to tell you what they're going to do with the show that they bought. Remember Ice Cube recently was like, I own Friday. I'm like, well, you don't really own Friday. Yeah. Not really. Like they made the movie. You didn't spend the however many millions of dollars it cost to make the movie. They did.
Right. Yeah, and these people don't understand that because they have a literal child's view of the world.
Yes, they do.
So it's not just gay shows that are getting canceled after one season.
All sorts of stuff.
It's a bunch of other shows that just don't have what it takes to last a long time. I saw this one tweet last night saying, cool, just found out a show I spent a year of my life working on is being removed from HBO Max. They don't name what it is. Really digging this new thing where we purge stuff people spent years on. My boss spent 15 years writing it.
Did he spend 15 years saving the money to make it? Maybe he should have done that instead.
Yeah. Like, if you didn't make it, why should you decide where it gets
They spent the money.
Then they said this upcoming potential Writers Guild strike is very important because this streaming situation is completely untenable for TV writers. But what these people are missing is that a potential Writers Guild strike, or I saw this other threat of a strike from the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. Yep. These strikes aren't going to solve your problems. Unions don't accomplish anything. They just do performative resistance until the money dries up and they go slink back to their cubicles in shame. That's always what happens. The fact that they think a union should force a private streaming platform to keep certain things in their library against their will. Like, they shouldn't have the ability to remove something from their library at will.
Also,
for any reason.
If you go down further, this person answers the question. He says, apparently some of the HBO shows that are being pulled are being sold to free ad-supported streamers like Tubi or whatever. So many of the shows that I love, I can't watch because they're on ad-supported networks, and I am just on my one-man jihad against ads. I will not watch ads.
So if you had to guess which one of these series that just got booted from HBO Max was this writer on?
That is a very, I mean, I thought this could have been like that show Gordita Chronicles that got canceled, that people were talking about. That was I don't know who this person
ultimately
is.
Like, here's your solution. Maybe make a better show.
Yep.
Make a show that has organic support and a large fan base, and then you won't get booted from a streaming platform.
But they don't like competition. They're anti-business, they're anti-competition, they're anti any type of free market. They want to be installed, just like they want to take a property that already existed on its own merit and then make what they want out of it. They want to be installed into positions of power and influence, not actually accomplish.
Never to be challenged again.
Yes, they want to accomplish it. It is really dictatorial and authoritarian. and all done in the terms of the message and, pushing their agenda. And to me, it's just dorky. They're just dorks. They're dorks who don't know how to actually compete
what
or
about
be
my
creative.
passion project?
Yeah.
Why aren't you supporting my passion project? Because no one cares that it was your passion project. They care whether it can make money.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. says it's probably Westworld. Westworld actually had strong creatives on it in the first season, and like I said, I'm a Jonathan Nolan simp in a way. I love Jonathan Nolan. Person of Interest is my favorite television show of all time. Oddly enough, a show that introduced gay characters in the later seasons. And it worked fine because it was not the main focus of the show, and it was more done through the character of Root and the character of Shaw. They actually start with Shaw being attracted to John Reese's character, and then her and Root, once they realized that the two actresses, Amy Acker and Sarah Shahi, had fantastic chemistry together, they moved it in that direction. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it didn't ruin the show because it didn't become the only thing the show was about.
But then Westworld became woke, as you said.
Yes.
I'm still working through the first season, and I like it.
Yep. Lane says, come on, Brett, no sense in boycotting a show because you disagree with the marketing practices. It's not like that will make a difference, right? I always find boycotts tend to, do the boycotts ever actually work?
I mean, not to my knowledge, but again, I was very young when 2007's writer's strike happened. You said that the unintended consequence is that all the bad scripts are more hilarious than any of the things that required effort and time.
Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, and James Bond, Quantum of Solace, both movies that suffered heavily from the 2007 writer's strike. And I get a huge kick out of both of those movies because they feel so unbelievably unpolished and unfinished. So... It is what it is. But like you said, I think the number one thing that you can take away from most of this is it never ends and it will never be enough. The show could get 5 seasons and then be like, why not 6? Why not 7?
Yes, they want these streaming platforms to just grow a never-ending, limitless library of shit that people aren't watching because they don't understand how business works. It costs them more money to have this much content on their servers that is not making them any money. Yeah,
they're I'm thinking of they have a server room just for these shows that they put them in to spend the money on, but it's almost worth it to avoid the bad press for them. They just leave it on there just because I don't want to have to deal with the wrath of the people telling me that I'm a bigot for canceling your crappy show. But hey, this is why David Zaslav is kind of based. He's like, your show sucks, kick rocks.
Exactly. But again, I saw more of these tweets fire David Zaslav because he hates gay people.
Also, he was at the dinner with Biden. He was at the what do they call that? The conference, the communication dinner, whatever it is. They have the big fancy dinner with all the celebrities, and he was there because he's
right.
The funny thing is with most of these CEOs, if you look into it, they don't just donate to one party; they donate to both because they know that it's advantageous for them to earn favors on all sides.
Because it's one big club and you're not in it.
Exactly. I just, somebody said Dollhouse. I'm loving the chat today. They're having their own conversations, but the ones that are talking about the stuff that we're talking about, I'm loving it. So I just, none of these shows interested me. It's also funny too, because it's not organic. I read an article that said Warrior Nun was it's the biggest show of the year got canceled. I'm like, says who? You that's just a lot. You're not even being coy about it. You're just lying.
One of these headlines said, Netflix canceled 14 fantasy shows in the last 18 months, and every single one of them was a top 10 hit. I'm sorry, there were 14 and all of them were top 10 hits?
Meaning
the math isn't mathing.
Meaning that they made it onto a list at number 10 once for an hour.
During their first week, likely.
During the first episode.
Yes, their first episode made it onto a top 10 list.
It's kind of like that
for
book.
17 hours.
It's Tom Taylor has been doing that when he was writing Superman, Son of Kal-El. He was talking about all the records it was breaking, and it's still in this list.
Bogus.
And it's all Amazon lists. It's not stuff from actual shops. But the thing is, this is kind of like that book, How to Lie with Numbers. It's what it is. It's just how to make yourself seem more important with numbers. And look, I think when you boil this down to it, macro view, Mary has her opinions on these things. She doesn't support it. Makes perfect sense. You have your opinions. You have me over here who's I'm willing to go there. I'm willing to watch this content if you can make the shows well and not make it ham-fisted and just not shove it down our throats and call everyone else a bad person when it doesn't get what you want. But they can't even do that. If you can't attract the most middle of the road, milk toast, I just want everyone to be happy person, you're losing because you can't actually figure out a tactful way to do anything.
Because what you're doing is boring.
Yes, extremely
Tokenizing
boring.
gay people doesn't go over well with the so-called homophobes or the gay people
who don't want to.
You're losing on all fronts.
Yeah. And like you said, in the average person, the average LGBTQIA person who doesn't make this their entire identity doesn't need to be pandered to like this.
Right.
It's just, it makes no sense.
Exactly.
We got a couple of super chats there.
BMF Nate Dogg said, not realistic. LGBT is their personality.
For a lot of them, yeah. I mean, that's the tragedy.
For all of these people, like with Stan accounts about Warrior Nun, yeah, that's their personality.
But that's the tragedy of it. Is like you're destroying not just the growth you could be making as the members of the community, but you're destroying good art and storytelling. Like in the real world, one claim that I've said a lot, and I've actually gotten pushed back on here before. I said, when it comes down to it, your race, your gender, your sexuality should be the least interesting thing about who you are as a person. In my personal opinion, should those characteristics inform who you are? Yes. But should they make up so much of who you are as a person that they dominate your personality? No, they should not.
Nathan Koss said they aren't creatives. They are middle management quota pushers.
There's nothing like what's worse, middle management, the email, the consultant class, or the email job class. They're all awful.
Yeah. I mean, at least the email job class don't actually do anything.
But
so
they don't.
They're not creating more problems.
Yeah, they are. They're on Twitter because they don't have any job. They're on Twitter doing this, talking about this stuff.
Yeah, and they're making articles like, why are there so many men in Rings of Power? Yeah. Bobcat said, the best thing about PCC is the only will she, won't she, is will Hannah Claire ever finish watching Fast and Furious?
We may never know.
Yes.
I was also very offended that she gave up on the fourth one, considering I love the fourth one. So she's like, I tried to start watching it and watch a Christmas movie. I'm like, I'm offended.
You're just learning the true nature of women. We don't like Fast and Furious.
Well,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I need to stop watching YouTube said many gay people actually want to be tokenized. I agree with that totally. And I think it's a younger crowd mainly.
Yes, younger. Yeah, I was going to say that is a generation.
But it's also being courted by an older crowd. So
maybe capitulated to by an older crowd. I don't know if it's being pushed to by the older crowd. I don't think everybody's a Billy Eichner. I don't. I don't. But
yeah.
Like, I would argue that a lot of that class, that your Gen Xers or the late millennials were part of that class of people during the last civil rights issue being like the legalization of gay marriage, that strong push was just like, look, we're just like you. We just want to go to work, come home to our families. We just want to be left alone and live in peace. And that is kind of disappearing in favor of, not only do I want to be bothered, I want you to coddle me and cater to my every need. And it feels like a different class, like a different group of people, but I don't know.
It's like a crisis of parentlessness.
Kind of, yeah.
Right now.
All right, guys, we are moving on. So I've got a very quick bone to pick with James Cameron, in which he does his own analysis of why he thinks Terminator Dark Fate failed. Sorry,
Do you think that his analysis is genuine, or...
I think, yeah.
Do you think there are other reasons he didn't mention?
I think it's possible that he just doesn't get it. So I'm going to read what he says here. So they talk about Terminator Dark Fate, a film that Cameron did not direct, but produced and collaborated on the story. They made a big deal about this. They're like, James, the best Terminator since Terminator 2. Well, that's not saying much because Terminator Genisys, Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles were fine, but that was a TV show. Terminator 3, Christina Loken, whatever, people have their opinions on these things, but being the best film since Terminator 2 didn't really mean that much to most people. Mm-hmm. So it says, this is his observation, James Cameron's observation. He says, I think the problem, and I'm going to wear this one, is that I refuse to do it without Arnold Schwarzenegger, he explains. Director Tim Miller, he didn't want Arnold, but I said, I don't want that. Arnold and I have been friends for 40 years, and I could hear it, and I would go like this. Jim, I can't believe you're making a Terminator. He would say, I can't believe you're making a Terminator movie without me. And then he says, it just didn't didn't mean that much to me, but I said, if you guys could see the way clear to bringing Arnold back, then, I'd be happy to be involved. So he kind of held his involvement hostage until they brought Arnold into the movie. And then he talks about how they brought Linda Hamilton in, and he goes, it's not even your dad's Terminator movie. It's your granddad's Terminator movie. Here's the problem. That has nothing to do with the movie's problems. They also, even this article hilariously calls him ageist.
Yeah, they said ageism was the real problem. That's not what he was saying.
I'm going to tell you the real problem. Spoiler alert, you killed John Connor in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Not only did you kill John Connor in the first 5 minutes of the movie, you made Sarah Connor bitter about motherhood. Like, the whole purpose of the first movie of her role is to be a caregiver, a protector of her son. Not only that, Tim Miller was going around calling everyone man babies because all of the strong, independent women in the movie were going to make them feel insecure about who they were. You replaced the traditionally male chosen one in John Connor with a diverse Latina character, a diverse Latina female character who had the charisma of Wood, like particularly like bad, not even good Wood, bad Wood. She's like maybe 18 years old, looked like she was 14. You hear her give a speech trying to rouse everyone into action. Worse than Bronwyn's in the Rings of Power. Worse than Bronwyn's in the Rings of Power. He admits that the script wasn't where it should be. I read that earlier in a different article. He's like, look, the script wasn't where it should be. We went forward with it. Why would you do that? Also, he had conflicting visions with Tim Miller. It didn't make sense. Nobody wanted this movie. You nerfed Arnold. They turned him into a cuck. They cucked the Terminator. The actual Arnold Terminator retires and lives a sexless life with a woman. He can't have sex with women because he's a Terminator. He weighs like a gazillion pounds. You can't do that. All of these things, there's no way you watch this as somebody who understood why the first two movies worked, who watched this. I'm picturing them like in their big theater previewing the movie before it comes out. You can't watch all of this stuff and expect it to do good. There's even border commentary. Southern border commentary, because
I haven't seen this movie, and I don't think I will.
Because they have to sneak over the border. And he also thinks that Arnold was the problem. No, how you used him was the problem, and blaming ageism is maybe one of the most ridiculous takes I've ever.
Intellectually dishonest.
Everything about,
and again, it's blaming the audience.
Everything about the movie didn't work. Like, you could have theoretically done this without Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't think that that's a good idea. But if you're going to include him, he needs to be the Terminator. Like, they didn't really, I don't remember, did they use him in Sarah Connor Chronicles? I don't think he shows up in Sarah Connor Chronicles. It's just the regular cast. And the guy who played the Terminator in this movie, I don't even remember the character's name. He's just boring. He's not like, you can picture Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Buff, extremely tall, hyper masculine. The guy who plays the Terminator in this is just like a normal, like, he looks like you'd see him out at the mall shopping for his kids.
He looks like he plays Ultimate Frisbee on the weekends.
If Ultimate Frisbee was extremely boring, yes, he looks like he would play an extremely boring game of Ultimate Frisbee. And Linda Hamilton is like 60 years old, dude. Like, Arnold in his 70s is already a stretch. Linda Hamilton in her 60s trying to look badass is just laughable. It's not funny. It's not cool. Nobody wanted this. It didn't turn out right. It's just funny how
Don't you think the endeavor of bringing this franchise back when the generation that loved it is already, again, like up in that age range?
Yes.
Was kind of a misguided plan to begin with.
Also, it's really funny here because I found this article that says that James Cameron talks about the pregnant character in the Way of Water. Is it The Way of Water? We're going
it's
to see
The Way of Water.
So he talks about, everyone's talking about, now I'm moving on just to this guy. So he's talking about, this is James Cameron again now, talking about a character in The Way of Water. He says, everyone is talking about female empowerment, Cameron told Robert Rodriguez in Variety's Directors on Directors series. But what is such a big part of a woman's life that we as men don't experience?
Ooh, you're going to get canceled for this one.
And I thought, well, if you're
out.
really going to go all the way down the rabbit hole of female empowerment, let's have a female war.
Upstage it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it just boggles my mind.
Another thing James Cameron said about this pregnant character, he said, it doesn't happen in our society probably hasn't happened for hundreds of years, but I guarantee you back in the day, women had to fight for survival and to protect their children. And it didn't matter if they were pregnant. Pregnant women are more capable of being a lot more athletic than we as a culture acknowledge.
Yep.
I thought, let's take the real boundaries off. To me, it was the last bastion that you don't see.
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Yep.
First of all, he's going to get canceled by a certain crowd for saying that what differentiates women from men is the capability to be pregnant.
He's 60-something. He's fine.
Is he going to get the... Yeah, he gets a free pass because he's old. So then secondly, I don't know if representing pregnant women only in contexts where it's shocking that they're pregnant is what we're going for when it comes to like portraying female empowerment.
And it's also
a weird impulse.
It's
pregnant women are not men. Women are not men.
It was my problem with Prey, right? The whole problem with Prey was I felt like she should have stayed at the village and protected the village. That it made no sense that she literally got everybody killed.
Why is it only badass to be a mom when you're doing something that moms don't traditionally do?
Or even that my number one theory is like what they should have done is aged up that character, made her a mother, and like have her like the predator lures all the men away from from their encampment, and then she has to protect them, the rest of the elders and the women from the predator while in the encampment, and have her struggle a lot. That's a great story. Like, I didn't like the one that they told in that movie, but it's like they don't have, like, maybe what they need to do is like hire like a token conservative woman like hire a Fox News lady to come in and be like, well, I don't know about that. Like, I mean, I'd rather protect my kids. Like, there's a comedian, a stand-up comedian, he goes, guys, I'm not trying to be political. It's like, but if I'm a liberal guy, what you should do is, if you're going to have kids, marry a conservative woman, because they actually want to stay home with the kid.
And they want to have kids. To begin with.
So it's like, what it is like, it's really funny to watch a guy who literally made the first two movies, so he should understand it so intimately that the reason that it didn't work should be plainly obvious to him, but it's clearly
this point
not.
He made, I actually really like. He said Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, all these other amazing women come up, but they're not moms and they're not pregnant while they're fighting evil.
Yep.
I think it is interesting that he took this angle.
Yeah.
And
there
should be more mothers portrayed in media in a positive light, not in a light where they're burdened by having children or they're abandoned by the fathers of those children.
Yep.
And somehow held back in life, put on pause, and put upon for their capability to create life. And I agree with that totally.
And it's funny because you could pivot to this right now and everyone would be on board. Like, yeah, they're like, until you prove it in the movie that you're not making it that you're not tokenizing the characters and that you're actually going to follow through on good stories about what makes women powerful. Like, you can do that. You just don't have the inclination to do so. Nor are you kind of, your industry isn't filled with any women who have that life experience.
Yeah.
That isn't their world.
So they don't understand it and they don't believe that it is valuable enough to show on screen. Or you see all of these headlines from celebrity women in their 40s talking about their IVF journey. Because earlier in their career, they were told that if you have children, you're not marketable anymore and basically you're worthless.
And it's funny too, because in a lot of those stories about the painful journey, because it was a lot of work.
Yes,
and it's expensive.
It's unnecessary that this is being inflicted on women, almost like this conception that, you know, having children makes you less of a woman. That's insane. Well, it's such a deep-seated lie, and it's coming directly from propaganda in Hollywood as well. I
just don't know where they go, because I just can't see them. Like, is the idea here that like we just lean it? Maybe the men starved for stories about actual strong women start watching Jane Austen adaptations or like some type, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe they have to they're like, look, I just want to watch movies about strong women, but I don't really buy that she's a Navy SEAL. I'm sorry. She's like 4 feet tall. I'm not sure if that's what happens here.
Well, I can't imagine that a movie like Avatar 2, which people already worry going to have a very strong theme of misanthropy, basically, like hating humanity, being anti-humanity. How can it really be pro woman? How can it be pro mothers when the only ones you're willing to portray as mothers are Na'vi?
Yeah.
You know, it's telling.
Or with, like I said, with these characters, like Wonder Woman is an interesting character on her own. She does not need to be pregnant. So don't make the story about her getting pregnant. Make it about another character. Like, you just can't. They don't need to be that.
Yeah. We've got another story next that is tangentially related to this subject of pregnancy, and it's kind of sad. So the second half of Harry and Meghan's Netflix docuseries came out today, and I'm sure it's just as dreadfully boring as the last. So it reveals that Tyler Perry, of all people, was named the godfather of Harry and Meghan's first child before they ever met in person. So at one point... That's
weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. Celebrities are weird. At one point during the start of COVID, it was revealed that Tyler Perry allowed the couple to stay in his mansion in LA while they were working on finding a place to live there. And the day after Harry and Meghan moved into their new home in Santa Barbara in 2020, Meghan Markle suffered a miscarriage. And in the docuseries, Harry explained that they believe the Daily Mail is to blame for her miscarrying because of the stress that the media outlet caused her by publishing a letter that she wrote to her estranged father without her consent. Here's what he said. I believe my wife suffered a miscarriage because of what the Daily Mail did. I watched the whole thing. Now, do we absolutely know that the miscarriage was caused by that? Of course we don't. But bearing in mind the stress that caused, the lack of sleep, and the timing of the pregnancy, how many weeks in she was, I can say from what I saw, that miscarriage was created by what they were trying to do to her.
Sounds like stochastic terrorism to me.
That is stochastic terrorism. This is an outlandish claim to make, obviously. And ultimately, I think it's one that cheapens their own suffering and the suffering of other parents who have suffered miscarriages. Obviously, I sympathize. Like, it is a very hard thing to go through, but they're cheapening it by basically using the death of their child as a bargaining chip in this battle that they are waging against the media. And this narrative that they're pushing that both Harry and Meghan are victims of the media and that the media drove them out of their country.
I don't think I've ever met anyone like more addicted to victimhood than Meghan Markle. Maybe more so than any of them.
It's pretty bad. It's never ending. All of her endeavors seem to be aimed at casting her as the victim in every way. Her podcast, Archetypes, it's about how women like her get unfairly stereotyped and reduced down to archetypes that don't really exist. And her complaining about being a briefcase girl on Deal or No Deal. It gets to that level of stupidity. And then this docuseries, it's 6 parts. It has done extremely well on Netflix, and all of it is about showing that the evil public of the UK, the evil media, and the evil royal family oppressed Meghan, and they exiled them from the country and unfairly cast them in a negative light.
Exiled. I love the term. I love the hyperbole behind the language.
Yeah.
They were cast out.
And then to blame the Daily Mail for doing their job, which is reporting on news about the royals.
It's kind of like when the person was going to make the comment about what's her name, Wilson,
Rebel Wilson.
And there
was this journalist that was about to drop a story in Australia about Rebel Wilson appearing at some restaurant with a girlfriend, and it would have revealed that she was gay before she had come out.
And they
reframed this into some like very dramatic blackmail story, which was not
better
the case.
Tell us better make your comment before I post, otherwise I'll be getting the final word about your sexuality or something like. They made the guy look like some kind of maniacal villain, when in reality it's just the media being the media. I'm not defending the media. I think journalists are trash. I'm sure people at the Daily Mail and paparazzi, they're morally bankrupt people, but
so are you, Meghan Markle.
Well, it's like it would be one thing if if poor little Meghan and Harry were not trying their best to use the media to their advantage. Well, you know what? You play with the bull, you get the horns, as they say.
Yeah, I think to use something as serious and something as tragic as a miscarriage, which a lot of ordinary people have suffered, and use that as an instrument in some public relations battle, I think it's really tasteless, and it just shows that like they will go to any lengths to be victims.
I think she's very addicted to the press, to being a victim. I think it gives them a lot of cover, a lot of leeway, and it allows them to be inherently like devoid of consequence for their actions because you've always got somebody else to blame for it.
But in reality, the media is basically, for the most part, on Meghan Markle's side. I've seen almost nothing but positive attention showered on her ever since this docuseries came out and beforehand. I only see a few exceptions, like Piers Morgan.
Yep. Well,
the media is on their side. They're out for the same interests.
And his is funny too, because his is like very clearly like he's playing contrarian. He's just got his beef with her. Like, yeah, it's like it's easy to dismiss his problems with it. So,
and maybe Howard Stern, but who listens to Howard Stern in 2022?
We talked about Howard Stern recently, and even we don't like Howard Stern. So
yeah,
it is what it is. Before we go, I think we should just see if the chat just wants to hang out and talk for a little bit. Maybe.
What do they have to say?
What is the chat talking about right now? It seems like they're having their own discussion. I love it when they have their own discussions. They're like, they put up with us in the background. Also, somebody says Meghan is starting an OnlyFans site. That is not true.
No
I'm guessing. Clarification. But
let me fact check this.
I don't think that's true. But I did find out there was a big story the other day that Mandy Rose, who is the current NXT Women's Champion in WWE, was let go because they found out that she had an explicit content website. It was called fan something else, but it wasn't OnlyFans.
It was some like off-brand OnlyFans.
And it was like, it wasn't like porn. It was like tasteful nudity, I guess, or even like implied nudity. But like, and I don't even think it's so much that they have a problem with it. I think it's just like, we don't want you making money off of it if we don't get our cut of it, because WWE is very, very tight with how they make. Like, you weren't when Vince McMahon was still in charge, you weren't allowed to have a Twitch channel unless they got a large portion of however much money is on that Twitch channel. Like when you have a Twitter, your Twitter handle has to have WWE in the name. Like, and it's funny because they're all considered independent contractors, but they're tied to these really tight contracts. But yeah, they let her go. They fired her.
Kind of based.
And it's also, no, but it's funny too, because WWE is one of the few places where like they have pushed like what they called the women's revolution, meaning that because it's a predetermined sport, the athleticism is still there, but women's wrestling is has come a very, very long way. It's not like bra and panties matches or lingerie shows. It's actual athletes doing actual hard tasks. But Mandy Rose was one of these characters, one of the few ones that was still kind of pushed in like a very, very sexual way, because she's literally just so beautiful that it made no sense to not push her that way. Like it almost doesn't work if you don't push her as a sex symbol, because she's just too attractive. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they got rid of her, and that's a bummer. So
someone said, when is PCC gonna stream on Rumble? YouTube is too PC.
Look, Mary may have problems with the PC tone here. She's more.
It's perfectly manageable.
She does. She's done all right. All that stops me from doing is swearing, I think.
Well, the reason that we don't stream on Rumble is mainly that we're trying to grow this channel. Yeah. Well, we're not trying to grow anything but like our listeners and people who view on YouTube. That's also like where we want to focus.
Since I reached out last, I got some messages about like people we should have on and topic ideas. Thank you guys for that. So please keep sending those in. Sending them. I enjoy getting like, because a lot of people will ask us to cover stuff that's just so far outside. Like when people ask me to cover us to cover manga or anime, I'm like, look, I wouldn't be able to speak from a place of knowledge, so I don't want to give you some bush league take on something that I don't know well enough. But we love the suggestions.
Hopefully, also we'll be getting the Avatar 2 review out tomorrow. After the show, basically we're going straight to the movie theater and watching it. That is going to be the next 4 hours of our lives.
Guys.
Can't freaking wait.
Can't.
What snack are you going to get?
I can wait. I can literally wait.
What snack are you
I'm getting macaroni and cheese bites, as always. I'm probably going to get a hot dog too. Just because the movie's so damn long. Like
You're
I'll
gonna
have
need a
eat-
whole damn feast.
I'm gonna have to.
I think I'm gonna like bring something really loud and distracting.
Ellen Thompson says Bush League take. I said Bush League take. Bush League take. I also have rules. I told Wesley earlier. I said here's the rule. If I fall asleep, you have one job. Your job is to make absolutely sure that I do not wake up. You have to make sure that I nod off and I wake everybody up with like
Don't
loud,
expose yourself right
with like
now.
loud snores throughout the whole
It's
thing.
okay. Wesley is gonna ad lib for us.
No, I won't be able to fall asleep in there. That wouldn't be possible. It
It's
says
gonna be very long though.
Yep, 3 hours and 10 minutes.
But then if you count in the time we sit during previews, that's basically 4 hours.
Shimmy Shelley says Bushwhackers. You know what we should watch? We should watch what was the movie with Daniel Stern? Bushwhacked. We should. I have so many movies. Like I want to do a thing where I make you watch movies from the 90s. Have you ever seen Heavyweights?
I have not.
You have to watch Heavyweights.
Not that I know
It's
of.
literally a movie about fat camp. You would not be able to make that movie nowadays. Ben Stiller comes in and he has to whip these kids into shape, and he.
Wait, maybe I have watched this actually.
Yep, like
I think I did.
You would have to. Like,
I don't remember much of it. I didn't think it was all that special.
the great thing about movies from that generation is like the Mighty Ducks, because they all came out. Mighty Ducks, The Sandlot, Air
Sandlot was
Bud,
great.
Green, The Big Green. All of them kind of had the same actors in it because it was like the same like league of class of like young child actors that ended up in all of the same movies. Little Giants, yes, who doesn't love Little Giants? That is a masterpiece. Maybe you want a Dallas Cowboys jersey. Probably the last time anybody not from Texas wanted a Dallas Cowboys jersey. Ed O'Neill, and a very, very like a pre-retirement Rick Moranis, right before Rick Moranis had to retire after Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like 3 or 4, because his wife died and he retired to take care of their kids.
I forgot to read this super chat. Wayward Soul said, I'll tell you what they were missing. Guns N' Roses. I don't know where you sent that, so I don't know the context. Sorry.
Little Giants was the GOAT. I love Little Giants. I'm actually partial to Little Big League because it has heel bad guy Ken Griffey Jr. hit a home run, and then and in the movie, spoiler alert, they end up the main team doesn't win they don't get the big victory at the end, which is always kind of crazy that they go for like the realistic ending rather than the romanticized version of it. So yes, all of those sports movies were a different breed in the 90s. You missed out. If there's one thing you missed out on not being a 90s kid, it's the amazing sports movies, kids sports movies. Angels in the Outfield too. Actually, you might find Angels in the Outfield kind of blasphemous.
Oh.
It's about an angel. A kid basically says my dad, early in the movie, like he's in foster care and his dad's like a deadbeat, doesn't come to see him at all. And he says, this kid loves baseball. And he goes, Dad, when are we going to be a family again? He goes, from where I see it, when the Angels win the pennant. And the thing is, he's a kid, so he doesn't get the sarcasm. So he prays to God to help the Angels win the pennant. And he sends an angel named Al to come down and help them. And the whole movie kind of glosses over the fact that they basically cheat the whole year because angels literally help them win.
Wait, I think I've watched this already. I think I watched a lot of these, but I don't remember them.
And the best part is like they help them up till the championship game, and then it's because like we can't help you win the we can't help you win the division. Are you
that's a bridge
crazy?
too far.
We got you here, but we can't help you actually win the big game. And then it's got like Tony Danza who dies at the end. Like there was some great stuff in those movies, man.
Someone told me Tekashi69 did a gaming stream on Rumble the other day.
That's crazy.
Damn, that's crazy. I don't think that we should stream on Rumble. If anything, that there have been some people asking for members only segments, members only reviews, members only shows even.
I think it would be good to do members only reviews of old stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't just have to be new stuff, because if it's members only, people are going there to get extra content. I would like to see that. So
yeah.
We got one more there from 1,000 Foot Deep End.
1,000 Foot Deep End said some money for adult diapers for the Avatar viewing. Hopefully it won't be that dire of a situation.
It could be.
If it comes to that, I will leave the theater. Yeah. But I hopefully I'll just like not drink any water and I'll just watch the visuals.
Would it be blasphemous for Angels to help a baseball team win a pennant because a kid asked? I have no idea if that's.
Well,
even
I'm
the right
pretty sure I watched the movie and I don't think there's anything blasphemous about the idea.
But it's not bad? It's not inherently a bad idea?
I think so, no.
Okay. All right, guys. Mary, since we are heading out, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you?
I will. You can find pictures of me on Instagram at Mary Archived. You can also read my inane thoughts on Twitter. That's also Mary Archived. And once again, we're doing our next meme review this upcoming Monday. We're going to have Dane on, God willing. And you should send any of your memes or clips or whatever to the subreddit, Pop Culture Crisis. And we also want to do more self-promotion here at the end. Like, subscribe, share the video around, leave us rates and reviews on all of the listening platforms. That helps visibility. I'm just doing my part by asking you to. So let's make this a two-way street.
Couple more super chats, guys. We didn't get no crisis party today, so we got a couple more super chats there.
Yeah, Bobcat said divine intervention isn't cheating.
It's so for that movie.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the details were of the movie. I just watched it when I was younger, but I don't think the idea is blasphemy.
Also,
Lane said couldn't hear the reply, but here's money for reading my chat.
There it is. What was the one with Kathy Ireland and Scott Bakula? Which one's Kathy Ireland? Now I'm like all
Wait,
up in
what?
I'm all up in the chat now. Patrick Fuller says yes, he says major language, but I think he meant Major League. Oddly enough, guys, I like Major League 2 more than Major League 1, even though it doesn't have Wesley Snipes. And as you know, here at Pop Culture Crisis, tax heroes are always welcome, and we love Wesley
I don't
Snipes
second
here.
this for legal reasons. If there are feds watching, I'm not sharing this sentiment.
Hey, I can support someone. I can support someone.
If anything,
in their stance.
Brett, you are the Fed because you actively promote piracy
I
and
do
tax
not.
evasion.
I do not. When do I promote piracy? There's one more there.
It's implied. It's stochastic. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, Mary, your bangs look especially nice today. # crisis party.
Actually, I was gonna.
Thank you.
I was gonna say that. I was like, well, # no crisis party. Like, not quite,
No.
sadly. But that's like, I was like, you were like, we were getting ready for the show. I was like, her hair looks nice today.
Oh, well, thank
Because
you.
usually, getting ready before the show, Mary checks her bangs. I check my hat and make sure that my glasses are crooked like they always are, because when you wear a hat, it puts them down. Ooh, in the chat, Porco Rosso forever. Tad Bromwell, forgive them. I'm so glad that the lore of Tad Bromwell lives on in this chat. Tad Bromwell, our very own Fed.
We are the stochastic pirates.
That's a great name. It's kind of like the name. I can't believe there hasn't been a band name, at least not that I know of, called Cognitive Dissidence. No?
Cognitive Dissonance?
Yeah, it'd be a band.
That's
be a great
kind of dorky.
band name, dude. Back in the 90s. that'd
Shimmy
been
Shelly, thank you. That's like a hippo.
It's a hippo with a one-up, so it's keeping us alive. Yes, it's basically it's a self-imposed crisis party. One more from BMF Nate Dogg. Go for it.
He says arg.
I just wanted to get you to say that. Is that, I guess that, oh, and one more. Yep, there it is.
Waffle Sensei said, party on, dude.
And there it is, guys.
Thank you.
Classic cliche comments is, I was going to say that, then you beat me, but you beat me to it. I just like enjoying the chat. I feel like I'm invading their privacy. Like, we're just going on while they're...
Most of the time, it's not related to what we're talking about at all, which is fine. It's their own self-sustained culture.
Oh, now we got one more from...
1,000 Foot Deep End said, I'm an idiot. I meant # hostage crisis.
Thank you very much. Also, I saw somebody mention Dark City earlier. Good call. Dark City came out before The Matrix, and that Jennifer Connelly scene. Oh, she has a scene where she sings in a bar. It's incredible. I'll have to watch.
You like it when women sing in bars. It's like your favorite thing.
I do. What was the other example of that?
Coyote Ugly.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I do love Coyote Ugly. Oh yeah, guys, just go. What you should do is go watch Coyote Ugly this weekend. Everyone should go watch Coyote. Early Tyra Banks, dude, that's like her in her heyday. She was like the bartender early on.
But also, like, my favorite thing from Tyra Banks is America's Next Top Models.
It's a different generation.
Different generation.
Yep. And you got one more there from BMF Nate Dogg.
BMF Nate Dogg says, free the code.
Yep. You know what we should do? We have to hang out. We have to hang out because we haven't gotten the crisis party to actually go off yet because it's on the timer.
That's okay.
So yeah. Now it says just women in bars. Now people are talking about Dark City. It's good. It's good stuff. There's so much to watch. What was the other one? Oh, I've mentioned it here before, but you guys should watch. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Lucky Number 11. That's a very, very good one. I should have my list here, but I don't have my list here of stuff to watch. But all right, guys. So if you want to follow me, you can follow me at Brett Dasovic. We got one more here. That is, I'm not reading that one. It is from I Need to Stop Watching YouTube. Do you want to read that one?
I can't read that on YouTube. I'm sorry. And Johnny Derp said hip hip hop hip hip anonymous.
Now there's are we referencing here that somebody mentioned Adrian Curry? Is that to get Adrian Curry on America's Top Model, right?
Yes.
Adrian Curry was on America's Top Model.
She was. Also there was like some pro-life activist that was on America's Next Top Model as well.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, what was
I don't remember that
person's
name. She's still in. I think they were going to have her on IRL or something like that.
I think it was her name was like starts with an L. It was like
I remember we talked about that at some point. She'd have been cool.
She should be on IRL though. That would be a good idea.
There was also the other lady who was on the one guest from a month ago. Do you remember who I'm talking about? The one who was a Playboy model or something?
Oh, I don't remember.
But that was a person. I don't remember who that was, but she's good looking. Guys, if you want to follow me, one more from two more. We're being held hostage. Now we actually are being held hostage.
1,000 Foot Deep End said hashtag free the crisis party.
It's like free the code, but
BMF Nate Dogg said jingle bells, ho ho ho, meow.
Yeah. It's off the rails now. I love it, guys. If you want to follow me at Brett Dassler for the show, again, like the video, leave comments on this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being along with us for the ride. We are going to see Avatar 2 tonight. I am going to do everything in my power not to be angry at the fact that I'm about to go watch Jessica Vaughn. That was the lady that lady's name.
The lady I was thinking of was Leah Darrow. She was on America's Next Top Model.
Yep. Guys, I'm going to do my best not to rate this movie down automatically for being insanely long, though it is extremely possible that I would do that. If you want to follow the channel here, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are also on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. BMF Nate Dogg says, I have nothing to say. Live or live?
Wait, what?
Read the last one. Live or live?
Live.
Yes.
Live. I don't know.
So Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. We are also on social media, Twitter at @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod, and that's I think that's all of them, right?
Yeah.
Am I missing anything?
That's all the Superchats.
We are also, by the way, Bocus is in all of our prayers right now. There's a lot of conversations going on about Bocus.
Oh, they were in the live chat today?
We love you, Bocus.
Yeah, sad news about Bocus.
Guys, we will be back with another episode of Pop Culture Crisis tomorrow. We will see you then. Later, guys.
Bye.